Hi there. Welcome to episode 6 of Sea Lawyer Station. My name is Jose Malari. What is transcendence? I will be joined today by Jennifer Bailey. Born and raised overseas, tested by heartbreak, and shaped by disaster. She rose through service in defense of our freedoms. Her life is a profound journey of survival, grit, resilience, and transcendence. A story of courage, healing, and the power to rise again. Here we go. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you. First of all, from a veteran to a fellow veteran, I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And second, I want to welcome you to Sea Lawyer Station. And before we start, I want to give you a token of my appreciation. Just a box of chocolates.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I love coffee too.
Oh, good. Okay, let's start with what does transcendence mean to you?
Sure. So transcendence, and I did bring some notes
Oh,
because
good.
this is a very profound topic for me.
Mhm.
It's something that means a lot, and it's something I've gone through in the recent times in my life. So when people hear the word transcendence, they usually think of something spiritual, or it's unobtainable, unreachable. But to me, it's actually a very human experience. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we start off as children, right? We're very dependent. We can't survive without the basic needs, right? Love, clothing, shelter, food, water, right? You're just a child, you're a baby. Later on, people grow up, whether you're a teenager to a young adulthood to an adult, you become independent. And when you're independent, you can pay your bills, get a job, have a life, but that's not really fully transcendence. So transcendence is when you move beyond independence, right? It's when you've gone through enough growth in your life and the lessons that you've learned where you start to become a source for other people to give guidance, and your experiences helps ground other people in their life. That is transcendence. So you kind of become like your own planet, your own ecosystem. You're self-sustaining, you're self-functioning. You're not reliant on other people for the guidance and to survive and things like that. So you bring light, you bring perspective and healing, not just to yourself but to everybody else around you. So true transcendence is when your personal evolution starts helping someone else evolve, right? They themselves are moving from this independent state of being into their own transcendence, their own personal growth, a higher level of themselves. So it's not about being perfect. It's not about being above anybody. It's about being aligned. It's about being aligned with who you are, that your energy naturally lifts other people. So basically, transcendence it isn't about rising above people, it's about rising above within yourself so you can help lift others.
Thank you. Um, when did you first encounter transcendence?
Well, I think I first heard the word transcendence long before I really understood what it was.
Mhm.
You hear of things, but you don't realize that you're actually living it. You're actually going through it. So, I studied Maslow in college, like probably a lot of other people studied it. And, it's those basic human needs of self actualization, but it didn't click for me until like much later in my 40s. So you're living through life, like I said, you're growing, you're learning, you're having these life experiences. But I started to ask myself, what does transcendence actually mean for someone like me? Because it's different. The journey's different for everybody. So I used to think that, you know, like the Dalai Lama or like Tony Robbins, right? These are two very profound people in society that we look at them, we're like, wow, they're very transcendent, right? They give this guidance, these talks, they're spiritual leaders and things like that. And so people can recognize that. But it wasn't one like lightning moment, it wasn't like one lightning strike that, oh, boom, something hit me and I was like, oh, I feel like transcendent. It's not like that. It's more like a collective. It's a collection of life experiences, lessons, and failures that started to connect for me, to make me realize. And then I took a deep dive into, what the principles of transcendence really is. And then I started applying it to myself. And I recognized later on, like, oh, you know what? I'm feeling this transcendent type of evolution within myself. And the other thing that made me realize it was when I started recognizing people were coming to me for mentorship. People were coming to me to seek advice. Whether it was about personal relationships, finances, veteran stuff, life decisions. And then I started realizing, wow, I have stepped into a place in my life of transcendence because now I am this self-sustaining ecosystem and where I am, helping build the path that other people can kind of walk on. You know what I mean? And so I think transcendence, it didn't arrive all at once for me. It kind of revealed itself through life's lessons.
Could you share with us your life story prior to that first encounter?
Yeah.
Where were you born, where you grew up, where you studied, and other significant events in your life?
Sure. So I was born in Subic Bay, Philippines, on the Navy base. My dad was active duty at the time, so I kind of grew up like a Navy brat, right? And then later on, I joined the military myself. As you know, I was also in the Navy. I went to high school all over the world. So I went to 4 different high schools my freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. So I was always changing. And I graduated high school early. And then I went into the military where I was a master at arms. And, I came back to San Diego and I went to San Diego State University. I graduated with a degree in criminal justice with a minor in sociology. And so it's been almost 2 decades that I have been living in my community and serving my community. So I think one of the most profound, encounters for me at a very young age was, I'm going to bring it back to when I was 12 years old in the Philippines. The last time I was there in the 90s when Mount Pinatubo blew up. Mount Pinatubo, for people who don't know, it was a natural disaster. It was huge. It was epic. A giant volcano erupted in the Philippines. It was, the world came to aid in the Philippines. It was a huge natural disaster. And in the time of the year that it happened, it was also typhoon season. So we had all these typhoons going on and the rains and the clouds along with volcanic ash, erupting down. And I was 14 at the time. It was that last tour my dad did. And they evacuated all of the dependents. Well, my parents divorced at 12. So my dad was raising me by himself, single dad and active duty. And so I had to get separated from him. And the place for me to go was to go live with my aunt and uncle in Kansas, kind of like Dorothy, right, in the Oz. So I went to Kansas at 14, and it was a very different life experience, traumatic change. And what did that teach me at such a young age? Resiliency, adaptability, flexibility, and how to be calm in chaos. I mean, we're going from a natural disaster, being evacuated, being separated, watching families traumatized, like real shelter stuff. I mean, you're living it, and I had to train myself to face uncertainty and even like a new family dynamic. I was without my dad for well over a year, living with an aunt and uncle that I didn't really know, cousins that I didn't know, in a very small town, another new school. So all of those types of experiences, I think, came to me at a very young age. So long before I ever learned the word transcendence, I think I was already practicing it at a very young age.
How many times did your family, or yeah, you were with your dad, stationed in the Philippines?
I think, well, I was born there.
Okay, that's
And
a
then
lot.
we went back to San Diego.
Uh-huh.
And then we went back when I was probably in like third or fourth grade
Okay.
until about, I want to say, I don't know, it was like a 3-year tour. So
Okay.
what is that, fifth or sixth grade?
Okay.
And then I went back again in 8th grade.
Wow, 3 times.
So 3 times.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna test her. Marunong ka mag-Tagalog.
Opo.
Ano ang paborito mong pagkain na Pilipino?
Oh, marami.
Marami. Marunong ka magluto?
No, I'm not a
No?
good cook.
Okay.
I'm not a good cook. Pero, for me, of course, like a lot of people, chicken adobo,
Okay.
lumpia.
Oh,
But I really do miss seafood.
oh,
The
okay.
fried isda.
Yeah.
I love that. I have so many fond memories.
Mm-hmm.
Yung nakatira kami sa Pilipinas, sa
Mhm.
Subic.
Uh-huh.
And for those that don't speak Tagalog, when I was living in the Philippines in
Mhm.
Subic Bay, and we would be on the beach and we would just have big barbecues.
Yeah.
So they just love to barbecue and
Okay.
grill fish.
Okay.
And I just love the variety, you know, and even the desserts. The halo halo is classic. You cannot go, and the ube ice cream
Uh-huh.
is classic.
Okay.
And ube now, even in San Diego, is so popular
Mhm.
as in coffee, ice cream,
Yeah.
desserts,
Yeah.
donuts, boba.
Mhm.
But my first experience is always Philippines. So when I have that, when I have fresh mango, it
Mhm.
brings me back to my childhood.
So, anong pinakamasaya mong alaala sa Pilipinas?
The traveling.
Oh, how far did you travel?
I liked going, well, besides the beaches are classic, but
Okay.
Baguio.
Oh, you did Baguio. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Manila City, but it's so different now.
Yeah.
You know, in the 90s, Manila was, you know, it's very
Yeah.
metropolitan, and you went there and they had the shopping malls, and there was a lot of influence from Japan. I don't know what it's like now. I haven't ever been back.
Okay, you should go.
But I know,
Okay,
I know.
good.
I need to balikbayan.
Yeah,
right?
okay, good. She mentioned being born in Subic Bay, and I'm familiar with that place because that was my gateway to the United States. I joined the U.S. Navy through Subic Bay, and after taking the test, we got an interview. We were given an appointment to come back for medicals, and that's where we had our medicals at Subic Naval Hospital.
Right.
So, and then came back again home, go back for the physical test running and all that, PT, and then finally when you pass it, they give us your orders. Here's your orders, you're gonna be back here by this time. It's a memorable place for me also. That's why when I heard that you were born there, I was very much interested in interviewing you. So I'm glad that you're finally here and also sharing your ideas and experience about transcendence. After your first encounter with transcendence, did you go study or research about it?
I would not say in the traditional sense.
Okay.
You know, I didn't study it in college. You know, like I mentioned, you know, Maslow, and there's different philosophers and things like that. And there's parts of the philosophy of transcendence in there, but not anything formal in that sense. So I didn't really take a course. It's more personal research and coupled with my life experiences. So growth, as we know, doesn't always come from books, right? Sometimes it comes from things that break down in life. It's the journey. So I had to learn emotional intelligence. I had to learn empathy. I had to learn self-awareness the hard way, because I'm a type A personality, right? I wouldn't have been a master at arms, you know, which is basically a cop in the Navy, if I wasn't naturally gifted with that personality. And I like structure. I like control. I'm very grounded. So I'm not naturally empathetic. I don't naturally have emotional intelligence. I think I'm a good listener, but active listening in and of itself is a different type of practice. So when things would happen to me in life, these life lessons, hardships, tumultuous things that would happen, and they kept showing up in the same pattern. It's you come to that point where you need to take a step back and say, well, why are these patterns happening to me? And it's that self-realization that I'm the common denominator, right? What transcendence requires of us is radical self-honesty. You have to own it. Whatever is happening to you, you can't blame everybody else around you. You have to take ownership for yourself. You have to have that self-control. It's easy to blame the world, but the only thing you can control is yourself. One analogy that I like to kind of use is like being in the car, right? Like when you're the baby, you're in the back seat, you're in the car seat. Your parents, they're driving you. You have the safety around you, right? Because like in Maslow, when you're a baby, you're dependent. Someone's in control. Later on, you're a teenager, you're a young adult, and you get to like kind of practice. You get to sit in the driver's seat, and through being independent, now maybe you're driving. But when life is chaotic, when life gives you challenges and hardships, it's easy to retreat into that comfort zone and just be a passenger. Who's in control of the car? Who's driving the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it you? Is it someone else? Is it a spiritual leader, or is it nobody? And when nobody is behind the wheel of your own life, you're just letting the car go wherever it's going to go. That is not transcendence. So transcendence, it isn't about escaping life's chaos. It's about learning how to drive through it.
How did your experience with transcendence change your perspective, behavior, or anything else about you?
Oh, it's been life altering, definitely life changing for me, because it's taught me how to master myself. It's not about controlling everything, right? Because you can't control everything. You can only control yourself, your reaction to things. I had a friend recently come to me who was battling years and years of tumultuous things in her workplace. And after hearing this, I said, well, how long are you going to let that control you? You're giving up your self-control. You're trying to seek validation where it's not there anymore, right? You need to go someplace where you feel validated, because what you're missing, if you're looking for validation through things, it's just going to make you unhappy if it's not there. You need to be thankful and have gratitude. And being thankful and having gratitude, it isn't just something we do in yoga practice, right? It doesn't just being thankful on Thanksgiving. You can be thankful every day. And I think a lot of us tend to forget that. And it's so easy, again, going back to that comfort zone and just blaming all the things around us instead of taking that ownership and controlling what you can do, your reactions, what you allow others to take from you. And in her experience, it's about, think about the blessings that you have instead of complaining about what you don't have. And so, you got to get back into that driver's seat. And transcendence is being able to make that conscious decision to take control of the wheel of your own life. It's not about escaping life's chaos, it's driving through it.
Do you think everyone has the capability to experience transcendence?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody's capable, but not everybody achieves. Not everybody gets to the finish line. Like potential. Everybody has potential, right? You can sign up for a race, but you got to show up. You got to train. You got to do the work. I think when people become complacent in their life, or they just take the back seat or the passenger seat, they stop taking control. That's, when they don't get to achieve. So when I think of people, going through transcendence, it's you got to do the hard work. So are you going to be the builder of your own path? Are you going to help build a path for other people? Or are you just going to go through life drifting, you know. I think transcendence has been life-changing because it's, besides mastering myself, I've learned how to reframe things a lot faster versus, I used to look at something and I used to be anxious. I used to overthink. And now I have the ability to just pause. A lot of people forget to just, before you say something, just pause a minute, choose a better response. And that's emotional intelligence, right? It's like when you walk into a room, we always hear the term, learn how to read the room. And that's not something that people are just born with. That requires emotional intelligence. The biggest shift in what I've learned doesn't just stay with me, it passes through me. What I've had is, friends come to me with their challenges. We end up having these deep conversations, 2, 3, 4-hour conversations. And something I always ask, let's say you're 50 and, I'm going to ask you like, well, what you want at 50, was that what you wanted at 40? At 40, when you were 30 years old, the difference in those five, let's say 35 to, 30, those 5 to 10 years, did you want the same thing? From 30 to 21, when you were 21 years old, did you want the same thing you wanted at 30? No. When you look back on your life, in your past, from 20 to 30 is profound. What's happening in those, 10 years? Growth, life experiences, chaos, right? It's what we call the journey of life, right? And what molds us and what shapes us is hardships, challenges, difficulty. It's what they say, oh, the world is throwing you a curveball. It's how are you going to handle that? Everyone is capable of transcendence, but not everyone achieves it. Doing the work takes courage. You have to face your patterns, your pain, your dysfunction. It's easier to stay comfortable or let someone drive, but transcendence requires you to take control again. You can't control the world, right? You can't control politics. You can't control the stock market. You can't control other people's families. But sometimes the door to transcendence, it opens up when you're facing hardship. It's an opportunity for you to change. It's an opportunity for you to reframe your mindset. It's an opportunity for you to look at what was your loss, what was your failure, what was your trauma. And now you have this opportunity to face it. So when you ask, does everybody have the capability of experiencing transcendence? Yes, but do you want to do the work? Do you want to face that challenge? Mm-hmm. How many times have we gone to an interview, we don't pass it, and we're like, oh, well, why wasn't I chosen? We dwell in the why weren't you chosen? We should be looking at feedback, reframing it, take that weakness as an opportunity to improve ourselves. That's transcendence.
So based on what you're saying, how can someone cultivate transcendent experiences in their everyday life?
Transcendence happens like one day at a time. It's spontaneous. Mm-hmm. It's living. Okay. It's going through that. Mm-hmm. It's your daily practice. Mm-hmm. Again, it's being grateful for what you have daily. And you can't get to good at something without practicing it, right? Like whether you want to learn a new language, whether you want to do a deep dive into something that is completely outside of your comfort zone. You have to practice that to get better. It's kind of like active listening. Mm-hmm. Are we really listening to somebody, or are we just anticipating what they're going to say? Are we really listening to hear that person? Are we listening between the lines? Are we practicing emotional intelligence on a daily basis, the empathy? Sometimes it's very small acts. And when you do these small acts, it compounds and it builds over time, and then you achieve transcendence. So I had a friend, here's an example, who lives in chaos currently. Mm-hmm. And this person is a yes person. We all know somebody who's a yes person,
Mhm.
right? It's hard for them to say no.
Mhm.
They're a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Well, while that can be seen as a good trait, saying yes to everything just burns you out. So after seeing this and experiencing this with this person for a few months, I said, well, I'm going to give them a tool. I'm going to give them like a planner, calendar planner to help them out. So they can kind of structure out and see, because when you're living by the seat of your pants, right, and you're very spontaneous and you're just going day to day to day, you tend to overextend yourself, right? You double book. You say yes to everybody. Well, eventually you're going to have to say no to someone in order to say yes to someone else. Or so, someone's going to be disappointed. And then that person who's the yes person, they feel bad because they're a people pleaser.
Mhm.
So I said, well, why don't I, give you this calendar, this planner, so you can kind of write out your schedule and you can see where is your capacity, where is your availability. Because the number one thing that you can give anybody, the number one most valuable thing you can ever give a person, it's not love, it's not money, it's time. It's your time. Time is finite. There's no do-overs. We can't go back yesterday and do yesterday. We can't go back 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. We can't go back to our 30s and our 20s, right? Our teen years, our childhood.
Mhm.
You can relive through nostalgia, but you can't go back in time. We have today,
Mhm.
right? Being present in the moment. So if you want to, again, get in that driver's seat, sometimes having a calendar is a tool to kind of, take that control back for yourself. Well, I gave the person the planner, and so that way they would have an idea of, how to structure. But when I gave them that planner, it triggered something from their past.
Oh.
They saw the planner as very suffocating.
Mhm.
They felt that amount of structure, looking at like even just a couple months in the future, holidays, January, whatever,
Mhm.
even though it's their own agenda, it was like so triggering for them that they felt like they were losing control, like they didn't have any more freedom by seeing their life out on paper. So the way that I look at that, I said, okay, well, for me, a calendar represents freedom. I reframe that. It's freedom, it's clarity. It shows me where I can give my time to the people that I value, right? It helps me protect time, which is a valuable resource. And, once it's gone, it's gone. You don't get today back. So using structure allows me to create balance and stay away from chaos. So I don't think the calendar, a calendar isn't chaos, it's clarity. And I think transcendence in this situation starts when you take control. So, my thought process on the calendar and with anything else is, control the calendar. Don't let the calendar control you. And it's such, sometimes it's just those one little things that just click, and it cascades into a lot of other things in your life. You have to apply the principles.
Oh, good. Thank you. Is transcendence always a positive experience?
No, definitely not. So the result is positive,
Okay.
right? When you achieve transcendence,
Yeah.
it's obviously very positive because you're out of the chaos. But it's how you get there. And like I said, like when I've been saying, it's uncomfortable, but it's humbling. You have to live through the pain. You get the opportunity to transcend and apply those things that you're learning about yourself when you are facing adversity, right? When life throws you that curveball,
Mhm.
when you are faced with difficulty and challenges. What is that difficulty? Loss, a death of someone, divorce, maybe it's moving, maybe it's separation, maybe it's this tumultuous relationship you have with like your significant other. You're trying to communicate better. Whatever it is, that's your opportunity, that's your window to say, okay, I need to apply that empathy, I need to apply that active listening, whatever it is, and keep practicing in that. So is it easy? The journey getting there is not easy, right? But that's the growth part. Once you achieve how to reframe that and how to apply what you've learned and you've elevated to transcendence, that's where the positivity comes, because now you have capacity. Now you're actively listening. You can get more direct to the point, and then you're saving time, and you can serve yourself better and serve other people better when you can give them your undivided attention. You can give your time because you're fully present in the moment. So I feel like, in the process, it feels like a storm, it feels like that volcano, right? But once the path clears, you reach that space of peace. And that's really where we want to get to, is that higher awareness. And that's where the positivity begins. I think transcendence doesn't feel positive until you've crossed through all of the pain that has shaped you to get there.
Okay. If you could identify one takeaway from our discussion about transcendence for our viewers today, what would it be?
It's possible. It's achievable. You can obtain it. I think, like I said, everyone has potential. But you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to ask yourself, am I willing to change? Am I willing to do the work for myself and for those that I love? Because no one else is going to do the work for you. Life is going to give you the challenges. Those challenges are the opportunities that you need to take to learn from it. And it's the difference. It takes emotional intelligence to see both perception and perspective. So perception is your personal reality, right? It's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's your perception of things. Perspective is when you have the ability to see life through someone else's eyes, right? We always hear that. Walk a mile in their shoes, sit in their seat, put yourself in someone else's position. That is what having perspective is. So anyone can walk a path that someone else has built, right? But it takes courage to build your own path. What transcendence truly is doing the work to become your own guide, to be the builder. So I think transcendence begins the moment you stop walking other people's paths and you start building your own.
Awesome. And if you found value from this episode, please hit the subscribe button. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.